Good morning, everyone. Oh, what a beautiful morning it is. Yes, it's wet, but it sure is green and beautiful. I'm Marcia Mode-Stavros, a practitioner here at Light on the Mountains, and I warmly welcome all of you who are in this room and all of you who are watching us from your own special place. I hope your day is unfolding with ease. We start now by going into that special place, that individual place, yet that place of oneness where we each connect with the divine within as we define it. I know there is an incredible life force, Father, Mother, Spirit, God, the isness, the allness, the order behind the cosmos. I know this life force to be all providing, all sustaining, and all renewing. I give thanks for this beautiful morning. I give thanks for the spiritual center and all those who make it so extraordinary. Reverend John, R.L, Max, the countless volunteers, our leaders, and all of you. I give thanks for being provided with these teachings which help us maneuver our way through life. I give thanks with deep gratitude and certainty, and together we say, and so it is. This spring, I have been fortunate enough to hike up into the fields of wildflowers. The hillsides have been blanketed with a wall-to-wall carpet of brilliant swaths of yellow, white, blue, pink, and purple. The air is filled with the sweetest perfume. Birds are singing, and everything feels in perfect order, divine in its nature and glory. We each have our own way of picturing the divine life force that you may call God, Mother Nature, the order behind the cosmos, or whatever word of your choice. For me, taking in the perfection of those hillsides says it all. There can be no debate in my mind that an extraordinary power exists, turning the seeds into flowers, no matter the winter they may have endured. For me, there are great lessons in observing the seasons, in patiently and steadfastly believing that in the dark days of our life, beneath the snow, lie seeds and bulbs that will miraculously burst forth with a profusion of brilliance and beauty. I came home from my hike more curious about wildflowers from a spiritual perspective. I learned of the Bible reference to the lilies of the field. I found Christian websites selling t-shirts saying, "Consider how the wildflowers grow." An Instagram post said simply, "Wildflowers are my religion." And a book entitled Meet Me in the Meadow, Finding God in the Wildflowers, included the thought that these plants don't preach sermons about praises, shout praises, or quote scripture, but the Lord designed their pattern, and I imagine him as a glass blower or cabinet maker, carefully designing each flower, drawing from his eternity of beauty, purity, and knowledge, divine resources beyond my comprehension. Wildflowers provide a glimpse of God, end quote. I couldn't agree more, and I am reminded that as each of us travels our spiritual path, we need to check in to be certain we are spending adequate time in our chosen field of wildflowers. Perhaps yours is gazing at the view from your window, or listening to achingly beautiful music, or the sound of your grandchildren's laughter, or walking the dog. I hope each of us is able to find a holy place, a place of renewal, rejoicing, peace, that special place where we each get back to ourselves and back to center and the certainty that comes from connecting one with the divine. I hope this place provides the promise of spring, particularly on your darkest days. For me, a field of wildflowers does the trick, and so does one of my favorite Bible verses from Song of Solomon. Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. And so it is. And now, if you will join me, please, in the affirmation for June, which is on the insert in your program, just near the top. I am embraced by joy as I release all that no longer serves me. R.L.
Thank you, Marcia. Good morning, everyone. Thought of the day. Okay, I have to be honest. Bob Brock, I know this story really, well, it started from you. And so if you want to hear other parts of this little thread, you might find a moment to chat with Bob, and he can share his part of this story in any way that he thinks appropriate. But we were talking this morning as Max is packing up a classroom that has been a house and a home for him for a while, and how we go through things and decide what we keep and what we don't. And I said, I think when we're doing that, we should have a box that says, I know I'm going to keep this, probably going to keep this, not so sure yet, trash. And you do the trash, and then you go to the next box and go, I don't really. And then by the time you get down to that, I know I'm going to keep this, probably at least half of the things in there might want to stay in your world. But it reminded me of this, and I was thinking also about this process of affirmation and of commitment and of reminders that we are of value on this planet. And I have a former student of mine, Joseph Anderson, who studied at Harvey Mudd, really prestigious school, really hard. The workload, the expectations are high. And Joseph told me this. He was home on his first break, Christmas, the first year he was there. And I had lunch with him and a couple of other students and catching up on life and what things were like. And he told me this. He said, on our orientation, on our tour of the campus, we're taken to a specific building and a specific door to a specific office. And every freshman is shown this door. And this is what they were told. This is the room where your permanent records are kept. And behind this door is a very nice lady. And on the day when you're fairly certain that you don't belong here and that you won't make it, she's there to open up that folder for you so that you can read what others have written about you and why you're here. We all need that lady. We all need that lady. We've all had people say things or write things about us that are that powerful. They went on to say, we're really good at what we do. We choose the right students to be here. But you might need a reminder, and your letters of recommendation are in that folder. I think that's really cool, especially at a school that's known for being sort of hard-nosed and gruff and demanding. Somebody was smart enough to realize that we all need some tools sometimes, right? And sometimes we know where they are, and sometimes somebody has to remind us that in that drawer where you can't find anything, there really is the tool that you need that's in there. Welcome back, John.
Thank you, R.L. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone at home who chose to stay high and dry and have fresh coffee. A couple things before we get going here. Happy Father's Day to those who are fathers. Happy Father's Day to anyone who has been in a parental role that may not have biological children. It's an amazing thing to be that for someone in your life. Also, tomorrow we have a commemoration for one of our newest federal holidays, Juneteenth, which is a commemoration. I'm hesitant to call it a celebration, even though there's a celebratory thing to it, is to acknowledge the official and legal end of enslavement of people. It didn't end right away, and it really marks the point where everyone finally got the word, basically. And I think it's an important commemoration for many things. There seems to be a thread in the world right now to deny some of the things that we have been up to and into. We are not responsibility for our past, those of us that are here, but we are responsible for what we do with the past that has been delivered to us. And that the only way that we can make higher consciousness decisions is to, without shame or blame, to just say, this is what happened, and now we can do something different. So I think that's the important thing for Juneteenth and a lot of things. Don't deny what happened. Take a deep breath, because some of it was pretty terrible and tragic. But we can take that and do something better. That's the whole lesson. You disconnect from it as, I can't do anything about that, but we can renew the future. I think that is the lesson of our times. Before I go into a completely different tangent, let's move to what I really thought I was going to talk about today. I just want to start with sage advice from Bob Holly, who is a constant traveler through life. Bob told me something a few years ago that I have taken to heart. He said, you should challenge yourself to go someplace different in the world that you have not yet experienced. And I've been trying to do that. Got a little sidelined during COVID. But as many of you know, Mac and I took an Alaskan cruise. I never thought I was the cruise kind of guy. I'm still not really convinced that I'm the cruise kind of guy. But there's only certain things that you can see in Alaska which are amazing that you can only see through a ship or through air. And so it was the perfect thing. And as I am looking back on this, and even as I was experiencing it, the whole point of going away is not just to tick off your list of something to see. I don't know, have you ever done that or willing to admit, or I've talked to people and they say, yeah, I went to Paris and, Tuesday we did the Louvre. What does that mean? It's like this obligation, like Tuesday I went to the doctor because I had to. You go to places like the Louvre not to do them, you do them because by going there you can be transformed. No, really. Think of any place you go. I think the whole point of quote-unquote vacations or retreats or anything is to take you out of your everyday life where you have convinced yourself that maybe change is not possible. Because we have the evidence of our life face us every day, and that evidence tells us that it's difficult to make a change or a shift. And when you go completely somewhere else and disconnect from that, you start to see kind of a bird's eye view of your life. And you can come back feeling more a sense of possibility as opposed to being pent in. So when you travel, even if it's a state or two up the road, challenge yourself to allow that experience to change you, to be receptive. So a theme in my life recently, do you go through themes in your spiritual work? I do. My theme has been trust. And you think, oh, we've been doing trust forever. God, there's so many layers to this. I think the childish part of us likes to think trust is, well, if I just trust, everything will turn out exactly the way that I want it. I just know that that thing that I want will happen if I trust. Trust is far more complicated. Trust is knowing that in the inevitability in some cases that it shows up in the way that it don't want it to show up, that you will have the grace to walk through it anyway. That's the difference. So as I do prayer or set intentions, I do it differently. I know that there's a bigger idea about my life that I'm not privy to at all times. And that is trust. So as I went on this cruise, which is a microcosm of life, in many interesting ways. It was lessons about trust. And I'm going to bring you along my travels a little bit today and kind of what we learned. So a cruise ship is like our life in a sense, and this may be hard to believe or even understand. Your existence here on Earth has been in perfection devised to meet every need you could possibly have. And you think, well, I have a list of needs that have not been met. Or you might think, have had or do have a life-threatening disease. How is that meeting my needs? There are different layers of needs. Again, your needs being met might be how you walk with grace through that life-changing or life-threatening disease. And to also know in our trust is that this is temporary. There will be a time that it is our turn to check out. And that is not evidence that things didn't go well. It's evidence that that's just how it works. And you can walk in trust and faith knowing that you're going to get exactly what you need. And I actually believe too, and it's not written anywhere, but in my own brain sometimes, I think we made certain decisions before we even showed up on Earth of what we'd like to do, the difference we'd like to make. I think we all came here to change the world. Not to just be changed by it, but to change the world in some way, even if it's in what you think is a very small sphere, that we all came here to change the world. And I think we set ourselves up, kind of like a cruise ship. So you have the cruise of life so we planned this cruise for months. In fact, maybe we were a little obsessive about it. Or some people in my household who shall not be named were obsessive about it. And there's all these things to plan, or things that you can do, and there's infinite possibilities. Every shore call that you go to, there's probably 40 things that you can enroll to do. And so just shifting through all of this, but basically, once you get on the ship, the course is set. Kind of like when you come down to Earth in this life, you've set the course. And there are many different ways that you can change decisions on the ship. But we were still going to Alaska regardless of how much I might pray to go to Hawaii. You know, I mean, just think of that. The ship was going to Alaska. I had agreed to this. It was a big yes by 2,000 people and 800 crew people that we were going to Alaska. It wasn't going to change. In the realm of infinite possibilities, could it change? Probably. We could have staged a mutiny. We say, it's too cold here, let's go to Honolulu. We could have done any number of things, I suppose, but pretty much like you sail in life with certain agreements, you're going. But still, there is an infinite amount of decisions that you can make that will change your voyage, whether it's your voyage of your life or the voyage on the ship. So many different and interesting things. It is so interesting to observe the same 2,000 people for 8 days. No, it really is. And I really don't want to, have this disintegrate into gossip, but it might. But it is so interesting. So again, this idea that it is devised to meet all your needs. And of course, what cruises are well known for are food. And there is unlimited food of all types available at all times. And it's funny, in our regular life, we're always thinking of how things keep us from doing certain things, and we'll think, well, can I afford that? Well, it's funny, you've already paid for everything on a cruise. So everything's included. So you can go a little crazy. You can order room service every hour on the hour. It's all included. So the abundance of life is really through food, but still there are these decisions to make here. So I came to the conclusion here. So you could go the buffet route, available almost at all times. Or you could go the dining room route, which is more like fine dining. So I figured this out. The buffet is more about quantity over quality. Not that it's bad quality, but you could just really shovel it down and not really do much thinking. And people did. I don't know if they went ashore. They were always there as I walked by. Again, not gossip, just an observation. Or we chose the dining room. So do you know how nice it is to be seated and the waiter takes the napkin and folds it on your lap? You know how nice that is, even for breakfast? Do you know how nice it is when you finish a course and they remove the dirty cutlery and give you fresh? I always hate that when the server says, hold on to that dirty fork because the next thing's coming. You know how, I mean, just the simple civilized things, how nice that is. And I don't cook fish at home because I live with someone who doesn't like it. I had fresh, either halibut or salmon or cod almost every meal. And I have to say, 2 of those meals were the best meals I've had in my life. Kind of amazing. But as we are experiencing that, and you could go for breakfast and have, crab Benedict. Like, I'm lucky if I get a bagel in the morning. It's like, so it's like, it can. But so one morning we actually stopped for a quick breakfast at the buffet because we had an 8 o'clock thing on shore. So it's like, just, have a little bagel, get going here. And I was overhearing, because you have to like eavesdrop. They were speaking so loudly that I couldn't just go, And so this woman was saying, I am so tired of the food here. I can't wait to go home. And as I'm listening again for further, evidence, she hasn't veered from the buffet. And I wanted to tell her there is Alaskan halibut and salmon a few decks down. There's napkins that will be placed on your lap. There's fresh cutlery. And it was just funny that in this thing that you can have anything that you want, you're choosing to line up for food that you're tired of and don't even like. In fact, it reminded me, it was in the 70s, a Woody Allen movie, and that there was 2, women of a certain age in a deli. And I think one of the actresses was his real mother in life. And they're complaining about the food. Oh, this is terrible, and this is here. And then there's a punchline that really takes a minute to sink in. And then one says, oh yeah, the food is terrible, and the portions are so small. In other words, it is terrible, but I want more of it. I want the full worth of my money. So I just practically couldn't swallow that sandwich. Bring me another one. And that's what it kind of reminded me, as I heard people, if I would do a quick thing in the morning at the buffet, it's like, oh, this is terrible. In fact, our last morning on Sunday, they kind of kick you off the boat pretty early. We were scheduled to disembark, as they call it, at 8:15. So the dining room opened at 7. It's the last chance for crab Benedict. And this lovely couple was sitting right next to us, and we were striking up a conversation with them. And they said, this is the first time we went to the dining room. What were we thinking? No, I mean, meaning like, we were up at the hellscape of the buffet for 8 days, and we could have been doing this. So what does that mean? You have so many choices in your life that all of us do that we have become blind to. That when we could choose the salmon, we're lining up for the buffet. And why do we do that? We haven't taken the time to notice. We may think we're not deserving of the salmon. We might think, oh, well, let's leave it for someone else. I'll just have this thing that I don't like. So you can start to look at, so we have this belief that if we have good fortune or take something on that we enjoy, that it's taking away from someone else. Not so. So part of it is say that you are worthy of the salmon, basically. I mean, think of that. How many times do we cut ourselves short? And it's not like grabbing for things or anything. It's just realizing that we live in an infinite universe where there truly is enough for everyone. We have agreements here that make that not true. I'm talking about food. There is enough food on this earth to feed everyone abundantly, but we have made choices that not everyone gets fed. That is a much deeper conversation for us to work through. Like, why do we make up these constructs where people are not fed when we have more than enough food? So that's a very deep discussion. But we can and will at some point make that choice. I think we have a lot to work through in making that choice. But when you start to look at just the inventory, it's a choice that is available to us. So if something appears to be lacking in your life, to just understand the choice is available. I may not see that today. That choice might not be available to me in my particular lifetime, but it's a choice that is available. And that this trust is moving ahead in the future without that seed of fear of saying that it will never be possible. Part of this life is about what we can experience and share and transform the world with. And the other part is it's a relay race. How can I pass the baton a little bit better off than I got the baton? That's part of life too, of sharing that through. What was also interesting is in this resort on the ocean, how people were grumpy. I wrote a little bit about this one woman who, it's so funny. It's like, what are these life lessons? So in 2,000 people, there's this one woman I saw at least 4 times a day. What are the chances? So I met this woman. She was, again, a woman of a certain age on a cane. And if you have trouble like standing or with a cane, you don't want to go on a cruise. You really don't. It's like spending 8 days on a waterbed. It really is. You got to be careful. But anyway, so first morning, afternoon, every 2,000 people have been unleashed onto this ship. And everyone's excited. Let's go see my stateroom. Let's go see the buffet. Let's go, check out the pool. Let's go make a spa treatment appointment. Everyone is just all over the ship, and it's a buzz. And so, all the elevators are full, and people are just excited. You know how it is, the first day of your vacation. And so we're waiting for an elevator, and there's this woman. And at first I thought she was kind of being, facetious. She says, "Why can't a person get an elevator around here?" And I thought actually she was just kind of making a joke because it was obvious. And I said to her, well, I guess that's what happens when you have 2,000 people let loose on a ship at the same time. And she was like, "Arr." And I thought, oh, she's serious. Every time I saw her, she had a boo-boo face, kind of like that. And I thought, and of course, my judge-o-meter's off the clock. Wouldn't your judge-o-meter? So let me tell you the most judgmental thing I said. Don't tell anybody. Turn off your sound at home. No. I thought, you could be grumpy at home for free. Why'd you spend all this money to come here to be grumpy for thousands of dollars? I thought, why would you do that? I know I could stay home grumpy for free. You could even be grumpier at home because you're used to the grumpiness at home. But anyway, but one day, and she was with a group, it seemed like a family, but she was always kind of off on her own. And there's one time, kind of midway through the week, I saw her just kind of sitting in the corner by herself. And I just kind of got this, kind of empathy hit that, boy, she was just carrying a big load emotionally. I don't know what from. We talk about, of course, the whole thing with any vacation is packing your bags, so you have real bags and metaphoric bags. And it just seemed like she was carrying a lot. And I thought, I just can't judge what brought her to this point. And maybe like all of us, we think sometimes if we change our scenery, the things that are disturbing us will change too. Haven't we all known people in our communities like, oh, I'm sick of this community, I'm moving to wherever, and they move back in a year, it's like, oh, well, it's the same over there. A friend of mine, a ministerial friend of mine, he says, well, look at all the difficult situations in your life and be aware of what the common denominator was. You showed up every time. So we take ourselves with us. And again, not shame or blame, but to realize that just changing things around may not change your circumstances. Or here's a perfect metaphor that I've used in this talk. When you change just the deck chairs on the Titanic, it's still going down. So we need to look for a deeper transformation. Again, any trip you go on to, you can open yourself to life-changing shifting within, or you can be a big old grump. But it's funny, I had another personal interaction with this woman. Boy, she was just a piece of work. So on the top of the ship, there's what they call the crow's nest. It's this completely enclosed, large room with all glass walls that people go up and with their binoculars and looking around, and they have board games, and so we'd hang out, we'd play Scrabble up there. It was a lot of fun. And they have kind of a Starbucks kind of thing. Not a Starbucks, but like a Starbucks aisle, like at the supermarket over here. And I was on a drink program, and I was trying to get as many lattes in as I could. Impossible. You know, like this drink, who can drink 14 drinks a day, alcohol or otherwise? Like, it's impossible. But anyways, I was really trying at the lattes counter to do this. And so I'm going up there, and who's in front of me in line? My friend with the cane. And of course, she gets to the front of the line, and she has a very complicated order. You know, that kind of order. It's like, does it really make a difference? When you do a third oat milk and a third almond milk, and then you have to get it to a certain temperature and just kind of like give it a little shake of I mean, really, does it make that much difference? But anyways, and she's really convinced that the barista's not going to get her order correctly. Because, you know, they're not Americans. That's a whole other subject. So once you make your order, just like when you go here, you walk around to the other window to wait for your order. And of course, even though there's people ahead of her, she's like at the counter supervising. You know, like, I told you oat milk kind of thing. And of course, the people's getting their orders kind of around her, and she's ready. She's got a cane in her hand, and she got like 2 sweet and lows in the other, and this is exactly her stance. She's ready, and she's staring at the barista. She dropped one of the sweet and lows, and she's here, I'm here. I'm like, I honestly didn't expect her to pick that up. She's on a cane, and we're like this, you know, of course. And so, this is so interesting. I picked it up for her, and I said, I'm assuming you don't want this, but for about 1 full second, there was a break in her demeanor. It's like she never considered that someone, without being asked, would help her. Yeah, I mean, it was a flash, but it was so telling that, again, I don't know what she was carrying, but I think part of her what she was carrying was this belief or experience that if she doesn't demand something, it's not going to come her way. Like I said, it was fleeting. It was fleeting, but it was there. And she thanked me, and it was almost, when she said thank you, those words seemed to almost unnaturally come out of her mouth, because I don't think she felt well served in life. Again, I don't know what she went through. But with that is a demonstration for me and just how my own spiritual practice has evolved. So here's stages of prayer, spiritual practice. Our kind of lower level stage is that we're just asking for stuff, aren't we? I need a house. I need my children to do better. I need any number of things. And we've been trained to believe that, you know, we fill out an invoice and there's a God or an angel or a spirit guide that's in charge of those things. The next level of spiritual practice is that we realize that that's not how it works. You look at, well, what does that thing represent? In other words, am I looking for more balance in my life? Am I looking for more unconditional love in my life? And not judging of how it should show up. So that's the next level. Realize it's not about the thing, it's about the thing behind the thing, if that makes any sense. But we're still asking for the thing behind the thing. The next level is to be in complete trust and to realize that prayer doesn't work to change anything out there. It only works to change here. And that even though I had evolved to, in my prayer work, to be praying for things like guidance and insight and direction, that, again, I was setting myself up with the belief that those things were not existing, that somehow they had to be farmed in to my life. And the next step of this was to realize is that help, insight, and inspiration exists already in abundance around us at all times. And my prayer is for me to get out of the way to see it. That, don't you forget that there's air in this room? Wouldn't it be kind of silly if we prayed for air? It's here. It's abundant. It's available. We live in a place where it's actually a good quality of air, unless if there's a fire. So it's here already. So my prayer now, and I would invite you with that as well, is to realize everything you need. It's like the cruise ship. It's all there. The prayer should be to get out of the way and know that it's not help is on the way, help is here. And I think sometimes we don't like the help that's available. We don't like some of the human choices that are available to us right now. But that's walking in grace through trust through this all. Everything you need is right here already. And when we talk about lifting our consciousness or elevating our consciousness, it's simply becoming more aware that it is there. It's like, have you ever seen it, like on the internet, they get people who are colorblind, there's special glasses now that you can actually see the world how everyone else does? And you should look up these videos. It is amazing, people seeing the world as most of us see it for the first time, being moved to tears. If you would fully realize the help that is available to you right now, you would be moved to tears. You would. I mean, just no longer saying, gee, what if, to know that everything that is available for you and your path and what you came here to do, that you came here to change the world in a positive way, everything you need to do that exists already. You just have to open up to it. I know, it's simple but not easy, isn't it? I mean, the walls we've put up, we've spent a lot of time in those walls. In your spiritual practice, if you could just visualize one thing, just the walls come tumbling down. So how was my perception in life changed by this? It wasn't changed by even that great salmon in the dining room. Even though, gee, I'd like to have a little bit more of that this morning. So I saw so many bald eagles. They are as common there in all the stops as the red robins are here in the summer. I mean, do you almost think, is this a Disneyland effect? Where they're like phony, that for the tourists, they like, put them up there. No, it's just like, if you just stop and really stop and look at anything that's in front of you while on shore, there will be an eagle there. There may be multiple eagles in there. That was life-changing. So, of course, one of the big things in Alaska is that they have glaciers. And we had a trip to the Hubbard Glacier, which is the largest glacier in North America. So the ship that we were on got about 6 miles away from it, but in our planning, of what we want to do with these different excursions, where we want to spend a little extra money, we booked a smaller boat that left the ship that only held 200 people and got as close to the Hubbard Glacier that you could and still be safe. It was about a half a mile. That's not very long, about a half a mile. And so we're all on the upper deck, and the captain is on a PA. Of course, we're all like excited school kids on a field trip or something. He says, I just want to invite you to be completely still and quiet. We're like, no, we're on vacation. We want to make, no, just trust me on this. So constantly, about every couple minutes, a piece of the glacier falls off and hits the ocean. And as it's getting ready to, it's almost like this clap of thunder that you hear. So it was just this amazing thing there that we're all quiet. It's like a group meditation. We're listening, and all of a sudden you hear this and plop in the ocean, and a little wave, and everyone cheers, and then everyone's quiet again. And we were up there for probably an hour doing that. And even I could show you pictures, but it would be this picture of an expanse of a glacier that was like that. The pictures don't do it justice. I mean, you're a half a mile from this amazing, amazing product of nature, and it's one of the few glaciers in the world that's actually on the increase, which is really amazing. And also, as he told us, there was a time when it was much more, that where we were on the boat, that was about 2,000 feet of ice above us. Pretty amazing. Let me tell you about a last thing that just kind of changed my life. So we were constantly on whale watch. Are we going to see whales? Where are they? There's a little air coming up over there. We were on a couple other small boats things, and we saw a couple like tails float up, like they're toying with us, oh, there's the tail, kind of going down sort of thing. So it was one of the last days. I'm in my stateroom, and they have this great stateroom with a balcony and glass from the floor to the ceiling. And I'm sitting out there, and I'm just reading. Mac's up in the crow's nest with his binoculars because he's on whale watch. It's like, I'm taking a nap and I'm going to read. So off the PA system, the captain says, we are now cruising through a pod of whales. Be on the lookout. So I'm reading, and I go like this, and right in front of me, about 150 feet away, whale leaps up into the air and goes back into the water. Amazing. But the lesson here, it's funny how we grasp for experiences. Where's the whales? When are we going to see them? Will it be what I want to see? Let's go to the crow's nest. Let's buy binoculars. And it was just a perfect moment where it was just like I looked up, and there it was. Again, that's how intentions in life often work out too. Like I said, I was like, oh, I'm so over it. I'm going for a nap and I'm going to read. And then it happened. It is so easy not to trust in your life. It's so easy to think I just have to hold on to this or this experience or a resolution of something just isn't going to happen unless if I just hold on with all my might here. But haven't you noticed that some of the most amazing things happen when you just kind of let that go? We all have had those experiences, but we should remind ourselves of those experiences. We shouldn't lead ourselves to believe that that will never happen again. That's the way it's supposed to work. You put your trust and faith, and you set your intentions, and so this is how I put it. Rather than saying, Spirit, God, or whatever it is, this is what I need, the next level again is, you decide. I'm along for the ride. Give me the best that I can take that will help me not only have a great life, but to make a difference. So, can you trust your life? Let's take this within and just sit with this for a moment. And regardless of what you may be experiencing right now, let us share the feeling of gratitude. It's amazing we are all sitting in this room this morning, in this amazing place in which we all live. It's amazing that the rain is falling, even though a couple years ago it was nowhere to be found. Just amazing, isn't it? And let us imagine within that those false barriers that we have built for ourselves are just crumbling away. That there's no need for them anymore. That we trust that behind those walls is our perfect life in a sense. All the tools we need. All the tools we need to not only be transformed, but to be part of transformation in the world. It's all there. As they say, it doesn't happen in our time, but in God's time. We just allow it to be. And we are so grateful for this. And in this letting go of this just statement of truth, we get back to Spirit, universe, God, you decide. Show me the way. I'm along for the ride. And so it is.